Okay, so I'm from Louisiana. We were talking about that, and you had a camp down there. You had something you did down there.
Yeah.
Oh, should you tell us about that before? Because we're trying to ramp up here. We're trying to get into this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me about your
We're ramping up.
whatever you did down there.
Right. So 2015, I was actually up here in Cheshire, right, pretending to do youth work.
Thank you.
Convincing people I was using that stick shift camera well before I got retired. Cheers to Sam Chow out there. He's watching this. We were in that Camry a lot of time, a lot of miles accumulated. At any rate, that was the prelude to me getting to Louisiana, where my community, we were three. Jacob Dumont, Stephen Ellis, myself. Robert DeCesar just went north, and like, okay, all right. So a fearsome threesome, and like, you doing the youth work? Like, okay. And so I got the tour by one of our wonderful lay people, Miss Martha Lindley. God bless her. You know, the Lindleys are great Redemption Christi members down there in Covington. And okay, this is what happens, G, and you know, we've been doing this since the 90s. Like, oh, really? There's accumulation. But the property was owned, and still is, by Miss Madeline LeBlanc Cottrell. Also, her and her husband are great supporters of ours, and I want to highlight that in such a special way, because since the 90s, we haven't been exactly making money.
we don't do that very much.
I know, exactly. So unlike our other camps in America, Castleton and River Ridge, you know, we didn't have that responsibility of making it fiscally viable. And then I show up, and that was kind of the time when she said, yeah, you should be good to start getting that way, to start making it viable, side to make, you know, make the thing
You've got a situation.
make the thing grow again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know how many people are coming here. I cobbled together the first coolest flyer I could find with like horses and knights and cool stuff, and I call it Knighthood Weekend, and you know, it was a break from the erstwhile tradition of just showing a terrible photo of kids up, you know. Have you been to Boam?
No, I've actually never been.
All right, there's an upper floor of the main house, which is the chapel. There's kids kneeling there, windows aren't back behind the altar, and so photos towards the source of light are always gonna be horrible photos.
So you can't say
that does not promote your thing. So you were whatever it is, and I scrap the photos. I'm going artificial. Okay, I'm gonna paint a fantasy in the minds of these people like they have never experienced anything before. And so
when you try and meet the fantasy,
I didn't. So I was not aware of the chatter among them, but of these, you know, one of the longest standing conquest clubs in America was in Baton Rouge.
Really?
I'm sure you knew about that, but
I
whatever.
know.
The Mitchell J people and et cetera, and so they're kind of like, this is new. This is new. I didn't hear about this like years later. Like, no, this is different.
It's like the underground.
So they started the chatter, and started the pitter patter, and everybody started showing up. But that was just a meager beginning. I'm grateful for like so much background stuff. One of those being, I did run Camp River Ridge for one summer.
Okay.
You know, when I was still a deacon, and we called it, what was it? Camp Riverdell. You know why? Because we almost got sued for calling it Camp Rivendell.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
how'd you guess there would be copyright issues? Of course, there's copyright issues.
Open the first page. Like, yeah, that's a great.
Every time. And so, you know, just to spite them, I'm going to put Thy Kingdom Come on every kid's shirt in Elvish. And we did.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah. We didn't know how to pronounce it. Had no idea how to pronounce it. Like, So that, however, was the first foray into, you know, LARPing.
Oh,
you know, live action role playing. You know, those people, yeah, that can be a kind of a niche, a little eccentric crowd. Not that we're doing that, but there was a lot of foam, sword, pummeling of each other.
It's like a boy's dream.
No, right. And so we introduced that. We brought in some guy who was this LARPing martial artist, and so he would teach. He did give a little seminar to the kids on the different styles of combat with the different foam weapons, and I never saw such transfixion of attention. And I'm like, I just stumbled upon something amazing here. You know, it was great.
Because the kids were all they were all paying attention. They were all
like undividedly, and they were, in my opinion, like the worst kids ever. And it's just like, oh, does everybody see what's going on here? Like, okay, can you just keep talking indefinitely? It was tremendous because he brought them up for like to test them out. It's like, okay,
really?
everybody, like, choose your weapon. You know, long sword, mace, spear, whatever. And like kids go, okay, I'll take the mace, right? And that was what sealed the deal. He would wreck them every time, right? He'd take his sword and their mace would wrap around it. He'd rip it out of their hands and then have them in a headlock, slit their throats with foam, of course, right?
Okay.
And it's like, okay. Then they were convinced this is not just something he made up. This is all legit. He'd have his shield. Like, you can choose any weapon. I'll just have a shield. And he'd pummel them to death with his shield.
He proved it.
Yeah, and so that changed the course of the camp from then on. Everything was geared towards battle. They would march in formation. Like, okay, there's reason to practice. Like, all right. So that experience had kind of marinated in my brain, and introduced it, brought it with me. To what was called Camp Boam, like B-O-C-A-M-B, not Bo Camp, which some people infamously say to this day.
Oh,
no, Boam. Like, why the dumb name? Because it's an acronym.
What does it stand for?
It's an acronym of the first letter of each of Miss Madeline's kids.
That's adorable. Wow.
Beautiful, right?
Beautiful.
Very few people know that. Only a handful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Now everyone knows it. Okay.
Now the
whole of planet Earth. So
and the
galaxy. The turning point came when Father Lucas Machado, who is now like head honcho chaplain of the Anahuac, in Mexico, Brazilian, he was in Roland Prairie. They were overstaffed there. This is, I want to say, spring of 2016, and he had a choice like, hey, before I go back to Rome, I'd like some experience of Regnum Christi stuff. And they gave an option. And we were his first option. Okay, so what a gift. I had no idea of the gift, but it was there because he was younger than me and in some ways more energetic, but just as, I guess, also kind of a neat freak. He loved order, and so like we were two peas in a pod, and I like, yes, we love order. Good job, right? And so we spent one night before the summer camp of June 2016, and we invented a story. It's called
one night.
No, it was not easy. I stayed up till the wee hours. Okay, it's the legend of the silver tree, and it still exists. It's only 3 pages long. Okay, so the point is, between the two of us, we would correct each other's narrative arcs until we ended up with the perfect nuclear legend upon which indefinite episodes and series could be extrapolated from. And to this day, 6 years going, they haven't repeated a single storyline. They just kept a new spin-off from this Aboriginal thing. People come, people don't go. I'm like your Amazon Prime series. Like like 50 characters, half of them die, and new people come along halfway through.
And it's totally good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a running document of the Argentus storylines. Argentus means silver in Latin, so like, okay, we like that. Land of Argentus sounds cool.
Nice.
Father Jaime Lorenzo has carried the flag. He succeeded me after those 6 years in Louisiana. Now he's still there, and it's just getting large. I mean, it's always been large, but now each weekend camp in the fall and in the spring is the size of my summer camps. So
wow,
hey,
that's
new heights.
Yeah, really. I mean,
new heights.
Why do you think boys like fighting and formation? And I mean, like, why do you think it grabbed their attention that they couldn't stop looking at this guy? He was beating them up. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, that was part. Look, that was part of it. And so it took me some years to wrap my head around the phenomenon. Like, why are they so excited? And this is not. I don't take credit for like inventing the first storyline-driven camp.
Sure.
That we have a great camp in Calgary, Arcathios, and back in the day, I think for Daniel Brandenburg, Camp Daniel Boone. Like, okay, like to me that sounds corny. Father Daniel, I love you, man. I respect that. I haven't been there, so I can't make the judgment. I'm just going off my gut reaction of what a creaking wagon would be, and someone shooting with a coonskin cap out of the wagon. There's Daniel Boone. Okay,
Watch that coming up.
Right, so I'm definitely going the more medieval kind of, lopping heads off style. So this existed. This trend existed among the Legionaries of North America who were doing youth work, and we were discovering that the male psychology will, especially among boys, they'll latch on to a narrative, and they will willingly go along with it if it's cool enough. It's believable. They don't have to 100% think, are those people really trying to kill me, right? They're like, maybe they're kind of good guys underneath, but this is too cool of a story to like say, I know this is fake. No one does that. Like, but there's a cutoff point. Let's say after 8th grade, like you make them part of the staff. Like, okay, you're on the inside, right? But 7th grade and below, like you're fully receptive to what's going on here, and the virtue you try and teach them, because we've always been about formation. That's our bread and butter.
Yeah, that's right.
But how to go about that? The virtue will be had by the maximum psychological and physical involvement together. Okay, that's crucial. That's crucial. I think I humbly like to say I've perfected part of that, bringing them together. Why? Because, okay, saying, gentlemen, this camp's about courage, which you would never say. Okay, like, whatever, it's so lame, but I'm making it lame just to make it clear. This camp's about courage. One of our people's held hostage by the bad guys. We have to go slay them and get them back. Okay, go learn courage. And so, yeah, there can be a certain joy in the involvement of team effort. We're killing the bad guys together, get them back. All right, that's one thing. But it did not. That scenario doesn't engage it doesn't fire their imaginations.
Right.
You see?
Yes.
The narrative has to be one that is just a little higher than what their 7th grade intellect can handle.
So there's a threshold.
You have to be right above it. If they can comprehend it completely, no mystery. If it's a little above them, it's mysterious, and I don't care what I got to do, I'm in.
You're jumping in. It gets them in.
Right, and so you would take care of the believableness of the plot, meaning the wardrobe, all the trappings have to be as real and legit and authentic as possible. Like, no bad guys, which avoiding copyright again. No orcs, but Molochs. I invented the word Moloch. Maluk. I like to put a little umlaut over the U.
Ooh,
whatever, just to make it look cool. No, the Moloch. So no Moloch can have. You can't see the brand of their tennis shoes. They have to be all black, like everything, just like nondescript. Something from a different world, okay? Because you have to be in the experience. You're from a different world. That's all in place. That's all kind of a given. The part of being above their intellectual level of grasping the mystery that's going on is you're let into the dialogue. Okay, so the good guys would have a dialogue out loud, and all the boys, the troops, are hearing that. And so they're hearing what's going on here, and we're part of this, and this is the reason our good guy was taken hostage, because he was I guess he wandered too deeply in his scouting, right? And so, there's something to learn from that. Don't be presumptuous of your own strength, And when they actually get him, you hear, let's say there's a closing dialogue. The king says, my good servant, like, you're a brave man, but why were you dumb? Why'd you expose yourself to danger? So the boys are hearing that too, and you're able to talk about that, and so then they're appropriating the story.
Okay. They don't even necessarily know. But it's all happening. It's all coming in.
Yeah, the reflective capacities were employed,
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, mind and body together are let's say are firing on all cylinders. When that happens, let's say the character formation, like the whatever goal of virtue you want them to get across, it comes in by osmosis. It's soaked in through their pores, and I don't know how to explain it. I just know the after effects of like befuddled moms saying, "Father, what'd you do, my boy?" Like he's demanding that we pray the rosary together as a family, and he makes his bed, and like I don't get this. Like, wait, what's going on here? I don't know.
Sorry,
I don't know. It must have been the lopping off heads that made him make his bed or something. Whatever. I don't know how to connect those two.
It's when you really when we went all the way through.
Right.
That's when it was.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
Wow.
Fun little fact about the believableness of it all. So our competition camp, Arcatheos and Calgary, whatever. We have many reasons for saying that we're better. even though we're so fewer on staff. Up in Canada, you have the privilege of like 50 dads who are lumberjacks and have this somehow find time to make 8-story wooden log structures. Okay. But my caveat is like they'll do all their war scenes in the daytime. That's great when you have people. If you have, like we would have, let's say 40 kids come to camp on a weekend.
Seriously.
35, 40, whatever. And you'd have maybe 6 or 7 dads who can stay as chaperones and help out in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's not going to be a pitched battle. That's dumb.
Right.
No one cares about that. So that's why all our action sequences, all our Argentus storyline sequences are at night, in the dead of night, in woods, by torchlight, with diesel fuel. Why not gasoline? Because diesel fuel burns slower and a redder, darker, smokier hue of flame, okay? Chicken wire around a rag on a tree branch. That adds so much to your cinematography. But just the overall psychological effect of the kids, when they see 4 dads dressed up as very, very intimidating Molochs.
They've got horns. They've got
everything.
axes. It's crazy.
The worst thing, and in the confines of woods, with these torches throwing weird, eerie shadows everywhere, they see 3. They would swear there's 10. And now the psychological tables have tilted in our favor, and these all 30 kids will be in full retreat, right? If and unless their own, I guess house leaders would say, "No, hold the ground," and they would have to face their fears.
Whoa.
Right.
Whoa.
And so we found the magic combination by which to tilt let's say the narrative drama in our favor. Okay, that irreplaceable. We're very blessed in Boam with a large back 40, and so different confrontations with the forces of evil can happen in kind of different places. Not unlimitedly, because there's probably no square inch we haven't explored yet, right? The smarter campers can be like, "Oh, we've been here before." It doesn't matter, right? No worries, it's a new enemy.
This is a new
enemy. New chapter, son. Yes.
Next year they're gonna be put in staff.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So that was an aspect that added so much. So believableness with just a sufficiently complex narrative that's consistent. Complex narrative, as in one step above their brain level, consistent because 70% of the campers will hold you to the consistency of your narrative. They know, no. Lord Baldur never did that. You can't just switch it on. Never, ever. Like so you are so obliged before every new counselor, any new dad. We make them read up the storyline. Heaven help you if you stray from the storyline, because the kids will call that out. It's fascinating.
That's amazing.
Fascinating.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed those times so much because, well, as like the camp director for those years, I had to make sure that the script, the story arc was achieving what we needed to achieve.
Right.
And then I would rarely be a Moloch myself. I liked to be in the background with things, making sure pyrotechnics didn't burn down the woods, but also that, sound effects through our very, very large hidden 130-watt speakers, would have, when you hear it, just a random deafening Nazgul screech, you don't play something, that's from Lord of the Rings, no, it's just your blood runs cold. And I don't want to be here.
There's this guy coming at me.
Yeah, anything that could get me out of here is better. Right? So I was very attentive to putting the different elements together to complete the experience.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were blessed. We were blessed with a lot of great people there.